Hi, everybody. Welcome to Next in Creator Media. I'm Mike Shields. I'm here with Ian Schafer. He is the president and co-founder of Ensemble. Hey, Ian, thanks for being here.
Great to be with you, Mike.
So you're the perfect guest right now because you're kind of right in the middle of everything I'm trying to talk about in this show. And I know you as a digital ad leader, ad guy. So tell me what the vision is behind Ensemble, what opening you saw here, and then I want to get into a whole bunch of questions about the market.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look at the creator economy as like an actual economy, it's a really long tail, right? I think by last count, there's probably like 8 million independent content creators in the United States, as defined by someone who's made like $1 or $2, right? Like from creating content. But anytime you have like a long tail economy like that, it's going to be really propped up by like the 0.1%. It's kind of like universe of basketball players, and there's only 450 good enough to be in the NBA.
Right.
So the idea is like, instead of looking at, creators and the number of them as a marketplace, which is where a lot of the startups in the creator economy have gone. Investors love market.
Meaning like connecting people or being like, yellow pages of creators, that kind of thing.
Sure, using algorithms to say, oh, you're a brand that does this, who wants to reach these people, like these are the perfect like micro creators or influencers for you, right? Like that's all well and good. But we're taking a more curatorial approach. I mean, I wanted to partner with Issa because she's proving in Hollywood that she's one of the greatest curators out there. And
we're talking about Issa Rae, like as
Issa
in
Rae.
Issa Rae.
Yeah. And so working together with the team and her, we came out of the gates about a year ago, not quite a year ago, with a group of creators that we said, these are going to be who's next. They may not all hit whatever that next big thing is. And I think what the next big thing is different depending on the individual. Maybe it's TV and film, maybe it's merch, maybe it's products or makeup or things like that. But the idea is that there are a certain number of creators, albeit on the smaller end, who are capable of doing incredible things over longer periods of time. And whether those are longer term brand partnerships or original IP, shows, series that may start out as digital and may find their way to TV in some way or another, we wanted to work with them and effectively take a run at an alternative future on Hollywood where people make their content consumption decisions based on who they follow, not what services they subscribe to. And so that's what we've been building. And, it's been a great year, and we're blessed to have some incredible brand partners and working with some really tremendous creators. But we've only just begun.
So there might not be a simple answer to this, but is there an analogy? Like, are you trying to be their management team, their programming team, their media company? Are you helping them with their business? How do we categorize you if we can?
Yeah. So we do not manage or represent talent. That is a completely separate business. That's about deal flow, right? Like,
right.
And, keeping them paid and fed in some cases, right? That is not us. We do work directly with both the creators and their management and representation, but we're effectively something that looks more like a studio in that way, in the sense that we're packaging talent, we're developing IP with that talent. In some cases, we're developing IP independently and casting them as talent. We're working with publishers and streaming platforms to distribute that content. But, I would say we're probably closer to a studio in the modern definition sense than we are, an ad agency or a rep firm.
And how much of this is driven by when you talk about 8 million creators? That's incredibly daunting and hard for brands to figure out. And they know the big names, but they know some in the middle, but it's really hard to navigate. Versus the same thing on the traditional media side, where they don't always know who to partner with, who to put together projects. Is it both of those things? Like, what's the opening there?
Yeah, I mean, it's casting, it's packaging. We're not limited to the creators that we have worked with or that we want to work with. Sometimes, a situation will say, oh, there's this creator that we don't currently have a relationship, that is perfect for it. But I would say, like, there's also a mission layer to this, in that the creator economy, just like any other economy, is inherently like inequitable. There are certain folks that get perceived as brand safe, even though they're not. And then there are certain folks who say they aren't brand safe, even though they are.
Right.
Oftentimes that has to do with the language they use or the audiences that they serve. It's not really that great. And the fact is that, creators who are from underrepresented communities, at least in media, right. Are 50% less likely to get a brand deal. And, when we saw that as something that was not just a problem that needs to be solved, but was an opportunity to explore, in that what we've seen time and time again is that some of the most popular creators are the ones who appeal to the broadest audiences. And very often those are creators who might be Black, Asian, American.
And they're getting fewer deals because they're less known. They're coming in, they're not at the right budget.
Niche. Yeah. They might be perceived as niche when they are anything but, to be honest.
That's
right? Like you look at a guy like Kai Cenat. I mean, and now he's like in the middle of this big McDonald's deal. But he's a star. Like,
right.
It is like you ask anybody under the age of 16, they know exactly who as much as under the age of 25, right?
And he might have gotten stuck in the minority budgets for at one point in history.
Yeah. And and I think that's that undercuts their ability to grow.
Right.
They're all entrepreneurs, right? At the end of the day, they're building their own little mini media company. The problem is they're surrounded by management, but not infrastructure.
Right.
And so what we're helping them to do is actually build that infrastructure around them so that they have a pipeline from idea to original series, as opposed to just kind of uploading whatever it is that they want to make to a TikTok or a YouTube or Instagram and effectively losing their rights to that content.
Do you have a sense of how big that is? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Is it, you said how top heavy this world is. Is there how big is that this next level that is going to be able to build a media company?
I think it's probably 0.1%.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's that small, but I mean, I think that's a good thing.
It's still really a pretty big number.
It is, but it's it's a 0.1%. It's it's still not that many. And and some of them are going to work and some of them aren't. Some of them are going to be, succeed on the backs of their ideas, not just their talent. Because a lot of these creators, they have to be writers, editors, directors, producers, right? It's
sometimes
they're
biz
doing
dev, marketing.
Yeah. And so, but what we're finding is the ones who do succeed, they're great at several of those roles. It was funny. Issa was recently on the 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast with Carmelo Anthony and Kid Mero. And they were talking about how one of the most valuable skills that you can have as entertainment industry talent right now is editing. And who's developing the best chops at that are the people who are literally, trying to figure out how to turn 2 minutes of content into 15 seconds of great content. That's all editing, and I think that's and it's not just the technological side of that. It's
that seems aimed at my podcast specifically, that I have about 15 seconds each week that are really worth listening to.
In many ways, dude, if you look at the, long form content in general, podcasts are a perfect example. When podcasts are successful, when I say successful financially, it's because they're able to elicit a wellspring of 15-second clips
when they
that can be heavily branded.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then distributed. It's almost as if the podcast exists in service of those clips.
Right. Yeah, that's the Joe Rogan secret a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
How you probably have answered some of this already. How have we done as an industry? And I'm talking really about the media buying, planning, selling part of the section of the business in terms of figuring out where creators fit, how to fund them, how to build them into plans versus treating them as something that's an occasional or a one-off or an influencer thing.
Yeah, they're a lot of them are in either the inventory phase, which is very transactional. It's this person has 30,000 followers. I want to reach their audience. They're probably higher engaged because of the smaller size.
Yep.
We'll pay them a couple $1,000s to make a video, right? That's kind of an inventory phase. Where the best need to get to is a collaboration phase. That's the phase that Kai is in right now with McDonald's. Where it's more McDonald's goes to kind of like, how can we make the stuff that you want to make even better? Right.
Right.
Where, he's like, I love iCar. And it's like this weird thing, loves iCar, right? McDonald's helps make that happen. Where Miranda Cosgrove like comes on the show and they can do that. Or help get Serena Williams as a guest, right? It's not like he would have had necessarily some trouble doing that before, but now you've got the infrastructure and the capital of McDonald's behind you too. Those are the partnerships that we're doing with the brands that we work with. They're longer term collaborations. We pair this individual who's both a creator and a distributor, right? And we say that, hey, the best content that's going to come out with this person is through a relationship that evolves over time. And that is not the way they're used to working. They're used to working, with a negotiation with probably their manager or agent in the middle of it, knowing what they should make per video because they know what it costs to make it. They know what the size of their crew is. And it's just, and they compare that to the market. I look at it more like, when New Balance chooses to collaborate with ALD, the brand, right? And Zoran, right? Like that is, they're doing that because they want to collaborate with the creative director, Teddy, right? Like behind that. And so, that is a long-term partnership that results in long-term or longer-term, not only brand growth, but sales. And I think that's the same kind of effect that we'll see is that these are going to be positioned more as longer term collaborations than transactional, video purchasing.
It's funny that you say that because I was at an event a couple of weeks ago and there was a creator, Eric, talking about this. And he's like, I won't do one-offs anymore. I've decided like we're saying no to brands and I want to do year-long things. And I thought, how many creators can do that, have the guts to do that or the clout to do that, and how many brands are going to be okay with that? Like, brands love testing and learning and one-offs,
Well, a lot of the reason why that continues to happen is because where what budgets the money is coming from.
Yeah.
Where we've landed is that the budget should be coming out of media budgets. This is working media, and because
that's up for debate still, I guess.
It is because I think a lot of times, when you look at where creators sit as a responsibility within a brand or an agency, they're oftentimes sitting in like the social media bucket, not even the paid social media bucket, like the social media bucket, the PR bucket, or even the creative bucket. Right. But at the end of the day, I think they are media properties. Right. So in the same way that you would pay a great publisher like a Vox Media, right, to do an ad campaign and then they'd light up their branded content studio around it. Our creators are both of those things.
Right.
And so and a longer term relationship puts less pressure on each individual video to be a sales pitch and makes it actually better at the end of the day for an audience. And so when you're able to put paid media support behind that social media content, you can also optimize to a cost per view. So this can be like, you can get great content at a locked-in efficiency. And I don't know why everyone just doesn't say Sanya.
Okay. That was actually going to be my next question because I think there is a desire, it's a vast, when you talk about 8 million creators, it's a vast universe and there's so many different ways you can go. But there's a desire maybe, okay, if it's going to be working media, I want it to be kind of simple. Or, I want to be able to buy a whole bunch of creator inventory at once and treat it like television. Or things like the McDonald's integration you're talking about are probably never going to be that way, right? Can this ever be not automated, but made simpler?
I don't think it should be. I think great creative comes out of friction. And not all friction is bad, right? And so I think this is a case where this is like really helpful friction when you get ideas getting volleyed back and forth where, you can look at like storyboards, like around a story and hone those into something great. And again, audience first, right? Always audience first, because if it doesn't work with the audience, it's not going to work for the brand. And the creators know their audience better than everyone else. And I have to say, like a lot of the creators that we've worked with are not even used to working that way, even though that's how they want to work. Because they're always say like, oh man, like usually when I work with a brand, they're effectively telling me all the things I need to say, all the beats I need to hit. And we're saying this, no, like keep those in the back of your mind because we're working over like kind of a longer arc.
Right.
We can hit those over time, but let's like actually like build up the association here between your content audience and this brand. And let's have that be like a, dare I say, more authentic collaboration, because, again, like if a collaboration is transactional, it's going to feel that way.
Yeah. Well, then I guess the pushback will be, or how you have to figure out how to make brands okay with that slower build up. And I want to plug that into something that shows ROI right away. How do I judge? Is that still something you face?
It is, but there's a time and a place for those portions of the media budgets, right? When we're looking at the media budgets, like a lot of brands, especially the bigger ones, especially the ones that need and prioritize relevance within popular culture.
Right.
They are the ones who say that, all right, like we actually need our media dollars to create content. Right. And historically, they may have done that through a television series that they've done product placement within, or even underwritten or supported or co-produced. I remember like Pepsi Smash on Yahoo, right, which eventually found its way to TV too, right? That or again with Pepsi, like kind of Uncle Drew, right? Like
this is not buying inventory necessarily. It's part of it, but it's not the same thing. It's
the inventory facilitates discovery from priority audience. Right. But the creative itself is the result of the cloud.
Right. It's early. Do you have any good examples of how things have gone that are, either projects their creators have come together because of you guys, or great ad executions?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've done some great work, even over the last few months, especially around, say, for example, like HBCU homecomings.
Okay.
Those are incredible events. And we work with numerous brands to light up content at those homecomings, at these activations. We've done work with Chili's around, activating creators at like, CONCACAF Day, like US versus Mexico, right? Which is like this cultural moment, where we're putting a well-known creator and almost like fish out of watering them, right? Like into that scenario where they engage with their fans,
right?
But are able to do so, like, again, as an ambassador of a brand. We've done, kind of skit-based things with creators who are just excellent at doing skit-based stuff. Like we work with, creator Destroying, who's a big NFL creator.
My kids like him.
And, he's great. Like all kids like him.
Yeah,
it's funny. He almost has like 100% name recognition with, again, like young kids. And he launched, helped launch this new campaign with Popeyes around them being the official wing of watching football. And what better of an ambassador than a guy who's like a former professional football player who excels at making highly engaging, skill-based YouTube football content. We had him come out, like do a big press conference, and then we systematically been rolling out more content from as it relates to that Popeyes brand. So, what you'll start seeing now more are things that feel like original shows and series coming from us.
Okay.
Like episodic things with actual like brands of their own.
So that leads me to two questions. Does this category eventually have like slates that they bring out to brands every year, a la the Upfronts, and you can jump in and lock it up now? Is that not the right way to think about it?
That's 100% the way to think about it.
Okay. Have you figured out what kind of series or formats are going to pop yet, or is it work in progress?
Yes. I mean, I would say like the things that we're looking at range from docuseries to comedy series.
Yep.
To even like live programming, believe it or not.
Interesting.
I think there's a real space for that we've started to see really pop through. Like obviously like things that Kai has done. A lot of things that are happening on Twitch. Was a close partner of ours. But you'll see things from us that fit, many of those areas.
And this is probably a dated question, because there for a time when you talk about creators developing IP and series, the presumption was, well, they really would like to get picked up by Netflix or Hulu down the road. They're just pretending they want to do this. Now I don't know if they have those kind of aspirations. Like, do you see them wanting to get on, quote unquote traditional media, or not necessarily?
I think there's a certain element of prestige that goes along with saying I have a show on Netflix.
Yeah.
But the path to that is narrower than it's ever been.
Right.
Not that ever is like a long time in like, again,
Yeah,
like
but it's changed a lot
Netflix as we
in a
know
short
it today,
period of
but it has changed a lot. The content marketplace kind of sucks right now.
Yeah.
There's incredible downward pressure on production budgets. And, I don't think, independent content creators like are bloating production budgets. But when you're making something for like a streaming service, you're factoring in all the relevant production costs that go along with that. Shooting in 8K, guild, union labor, right? Like all kinds of things that bloat something more than it does like when you make a video for YouTube.
Right.
But with that said, one of the biggest areas of TV viewing growth is YouTube on TV.
Totally.
Not YouTube TV, right?
Yep.
It's like watching YouTube on TV. So do you need a Netflix?
It's a great
to get
question.
An audience of people that are watching TV?
You got a TV show, right? Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, like Netflix is the money that a Netflix is willing to pay, or any platform is willing to pay for a piece of programming is a combination of where they get their revenue, right? It's like they get revenue from subscribers and they get revenue from advertisers, increasingly more from advertisers, but still. But they're evaluating their content decisions based on subscriber growth.
No, just last question for me is how do we break the agency structural challenge you're talking about where to fund these things, how to evaluate them? Is that going to happen anytime soon? Is it going to be an ongoing challenge?
I actually think the media agencies are doing an excellent job with the way they're thinking about this. I think their heads are already there. I don't think creative agencies are. I don't think the PR firms are, but I do think the media agencies get it because they are the ones, especially like the investment arms of these media agencies. They understand exactly what's happening in the world of Hollywood and to the cost of production. And I think, when we speak to them, it's almost as if like they've been waiting for us without knowing it, right? Like, so like
this is what they needed to get this going.
Yeah, they need to be able to drive scale with efficiency. Right. And again, like that's become harder and harder. That's a bitch
when you talk about 8 million creators, right? Yeah.
Yes. And so
Makes sense.
we're bringing that Hollywood mentality to it, like the creative excellence to it, but kind of like the new media, if that's still a phrase, approach to it, right? Because we're looking at like, hey, like if at the end of the day, advertisers are subsidizing this content one way or another, why don't we just cut to the chase and give them what they want, which is great content at a lot of efficiency. So here we are.
All right, Ian, we could talk forever. Great stuff. Really appreciate the time. We're going to have to leave it there, but let's talk again. Thank you.
All good. Anytime. Thanks, Mike.